Good afternoon. I hope you are having a great Tuesday. The time now is 12:35. I'm Julie Broughton. This is Take 6. This is when we get together right after our noon newscast and we talk with some of our reporters, our investigators, our anchors, really anyone in the newsroom so we can tell you what goes on behind the scenes to put on some of the stories you see on News 6 and what we're working on that you'll see later today. And I'm really excited about today's update with News 6 investigator Eric Sandoval. And Eric, I got extra excited in the morning meeting today when you said
hmm
this type of story is why you went into journalism. This is such a great update about the PACE green loans that you told us about in January. And specifically in January, you met a woman who didn't even realize she was 2 years delinquent on this loan. And you have some great updates for us.
Yeah, on its surface, it may sound really boring. PACE green loans. Well, these are home improvement loans that, uh, you know, people can get who may not have good credit, who may not have much equity in their house, who may not just make a lot of money. So these are people who really have no other option if they need a new air conditioner or new insulation, like the woman who you see here. This is her house. She got this house from Habitat for Humanity, if that tells you what kind
Mhm.
of financial situation she was in. We did this story, interviewed her back in January, as you said, Julie. We informed her that she was 2 years behind in her payment. And you may ask, how did that happen? Well, these loan payments are actually attached to your property tax bill. So you're
Mhm.
basically making only one payment a year. It's a really big payment. In her situation, it was
Mhm.
$1,500 a year. So she hadn't paid that in 2 years, and she was at risk of losing her house. So we did the story on her. We contacted the lender who she was working with, but sometimes our stories land on ears that you don't think that they're going to
Mhm.
land on. And this really fantastic News 6 viewer intervened, and she walked in and paid off the woman's entire
Wow.
loan. We're talking $15,000 that she paid off for this woman. So she is keeping her house. We talked to her again, and you may have noticed in that video she didn't want to show her face. She
Mhm.
was really embarrassed that we just showed up at her house. Totally understand that, but and she was really embarrassed about her
Mhm.
situation. And this time she said, "I want to show my face. I want you to use my name
Mhm.
because I don't want anybody else to wind up in the same situation I did."
Well, and it seems like, some of these terms could be maybe a little bit confusing with the one payment a year attached to your property assessment. So I
hmm
imagine she is not the only one who finds herself in this situation. And like you said, it's a really big payment for most of these times.
Absolutely. And the difference with these PACE loans, they're called PACE loans because it stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy Loans. So they call them PACE loans. How these loans are a little bit different is they don't go through banks.
Mhm.
They're paid by investors, private investors. And these investors expect a return on their investment.
Mm.
And if they attach this loan to a property tax bill and to the property assessed, the tax collector
Mhm.
and the county, if the person defaults on that loan, they can then go after the house. They can,
Oh, wow.
then sell the
Mhm.
house for a profit. So they're really looking after these investors
Mhm.
rather than a bank who, yeah, they may be looking at their bottom line, but there may be a heart at the other end of the phone
Right.
if you can't make these payments, and they can maybe make some kind of arrangements for you to refinance or
Mhm.
something like that. Not so with these PACE loans. And I want to add one more thing, Julie.
Okay.
We did the story in January, exposed some of these problems.
Mhm.
At the exact same time the state legislature was meeting in Tallahassee, they introduced a bill that actually passed both the House and the Senate. It's now waiting Governor
Mhm.
DeSantis' signature, and it's designed to create some more safeguards for people
Mhm.
who may be applying for these loans. Now, and I want to be clear, I'm not saying don't apply for these loans because they do provide a purpose for some homeowners. But
Mhm.
when you apply for these loans now, there is going to be a whole checklist, a new checklist for the lender and for you, the
Mhm.
borrower, to check off
Right.
and make sure that you know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah, when you're going through all these so many financial things are just very complicated. There's so many things to
hmm
read. It can be hard to understand all these things. But I
Yeah.
have to ask Eric, did the viewer reach out to you? How did all this happen with the viewer who ended up paying off that loan?
Yeah, she contacted me, and I put her in touch with the woman who owns the house. And I acted as the intermediary, if you will,
Yeah.
because the woman who owns the house she's not that tech savvy, couldn't email, so
Hmm.
I was literally driving to her house, picking up documents, bringing them over,
Wow.
sending them to the woman who's going to pay off the loan. Yeah, so I was the intermediary. I got to see it all happen. I wanted to make sure from our viewer too that she was in a solid financial situation,
Hmm.
that she could afford to do this. Because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not in a situation where I could afford to pay that off right now.
Right.
So, and I don't think the average person is. So I wanted
Right.
to make, for double sure that she was in a good situation. And her exact words to me was, God has blessed me in a good situation, and I want to pay that forward with another blessing.
Wow.
And, what more powerful message could you get than that?
That gave me chills. And Eric, I
Yeah.
think sometimes in our business, and I'm definitely guilty of this, we report on so many bad things that you just think,
Hmm.
oh, there's so many bad people in the world. And this is,
Yeah.
I can
On a
go down
daily
that.
basis.
I can go down that spiral, which isn't always great. And then we hear stories like this, somebody who was just watching the news and saw your story and changed this woman's life. I mean, that is so incredible. I'm so happy that all of this
Absolutely.
transpired.
And I don't know how often you hear this, Julie. When you meet people out in the community and you say, "Oh, yeah, I'm an
Hmm.
investigative reporter for News 6. I'm an anchor for News 6." They say, "Oh, I don't watch the news
Right.
anymore." And you ask
Hmm.
them, "Why don't you watch the news anymore?" And they say, "Oh, it's so negative and so depressing."
Hmm.
I get that, but
Yeah.
this story that airs at 6 o'clock tonight is a reason to turn on your TV. It's a
Yes.
reason to believe in humanity again, believe in your neighbors, and believe that love is good and that
Oh.
it's still here.
Eric, I think you melted my cold dead heart. I feel so alive now. It's an April 2nd miracle. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see your
Yay!
story. All right, so 6 o'clock tonight is when we get to
Six
see all
o'clock
this.
tonight. We'll
All
see you
right.
then, Julie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric.
You got it.
All right. So, again, that's coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. We also want to remind you we are tracking the threat of severe weather tomorrow. This is something that Candace Campos has been talking about for a few days. Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells has been talking about it. Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas has been keeping you updated across our digital platforms. But again, we are still watching for that threat tomorrow afternoon. Here's how it looks for us right now. Satellite and radar imagery showing some clouds beginning to build. And the big story today is those temperatures. We will be nearing record territory just about everywhere. Right now at 12:42, we're sitting at 78 in Orlando and Melbourne, 79 in Cocoa Beach, 83 for those of you in the Villages, and 76 in Ocala. Here is our temperature trend for the next 7 days. We are on our way to a high near 90 today. Now tomorrow, ahead of that front, those southwesterly winds kick our temperatures into the mid-80s. But as we clear that strong front out of here on Thursday, we have a really great stretch through the weekend and into early next week. But again, we do have that slight risk of severe weather just about everywhere tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. So the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, they have 5 categories, basically 1 to 5. So we are a 2, which is a slight risk for that severe weather. And here's a look at the timing for that. Again, our biggest threats will be some lightning, some strong winds, and the possibility of some hail. We could see isolated tornadic activity, but again, we think those strong winds will be our biggest threat. Here comes that front. So as we head through the day tomorrow by around noon, we'll start to see showers and storms developing across our northwest counties. And then we clear things out from northwest to southeast as we head into the evening hours. And then by Thursday morning, we get that front to our south, skies clear, and Thursday looking good. But again, tomorrow could be dicey. I really want you to think about school pickup time. That's when we could be dealing with some of those stronger storms. So go ahead and just start thinking of your plans now with those rain chances tomorrow at 80% and then 75 on Thursday, 76 on Friday. The weekend looking great if you have any outdoor plans. And then Monday up to 81 degrees. Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells will be in with us starting at 4, and he'll have much more on the breakdown of the timing and the threats of this potential severe weather. Lisa Bell, Ginger Gadsden, and I will see you on News 6 starting at 4 as well. If you have any questions or comments for us here at Take 6, all you have to do is head to clickorlando.com/take6. Let us know what's on your mind. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today, and I will see you at 4.